The altar, she supposed, and on it was Hector.
Is the throne empty? Is the king dead? The empire unpossessed?
Off with his head.
All right, let's get this started. We got another new guest. Last time we had Cousin Bolo, now we have Cousin Danny. So it's me, John, and Danny today. And we picked our subject today, which is going to be the monuments and syrup brands.
I'm down with that.
Do we start with the monuments or the produce?
Well, let's start with the monuments because I think the racism comes with the pancakes.
So where are we starting with?
So there was one in New Mexico recently. This is the weird thing because for the life of me, I don't know why anyone would defend this particular monument. It was a Spanish conquistador, and he was brutal. Huge massacre of the indigenous people. He was so bad they banished him from New Mexico in general. Not even an American. It's not like a forefather like Washington or something like that. So
well, and this is believable because the Spanish were brutal. Yeah, they were brutal. Oh, yeah. All of them were when they went to the Philippines, when they went to Cuba, they went to Mexico. Mm-hmm. They slaughtered everywhere they went. So it's not crazy to think he was probably pretty brutal, even without even knowing the history.
Yeah. So why
he's a conquistador? He's conquering.
Yeah. So Antifa people showed up to try to knock the statue down. Militia showed up with all their machine guns, the AR-15s and whatnot.
Tommy guns,
Molotovs. So anyways, it started getting heated, and now you'll see like two different views, right wing or left wing, whatever you follow on Facebook. You can see two different videos. First, you see a video of a guy getting attacked with a skateboard and people screaming, "Kill him!" And so he shoots the protester. So if you're right wing, you'd be like, yeah, his life was in danger. Stand your ground. All that good stuff. However, if you see another video, he was assaulting women, which I was always taught, don't lay your hands on a woman. They weren't attacking him. They were just trying to block him, and he was slamming them to the ground. I think he shot pepper balls. I don't know. I thought I saw something like that. But once he slammed one girl to the ground really hard, that's when the crowd turned on him, and then he shot.
Yeah, I think a crowd should turn on you if you're trying to throw women on the ground.
Yeah.
Did he have a gun that was visible, or he had no visible guns?
It was a handgun. He wasn't geared up like the rest of the militia.
So he's part of them, but he wasn't wearing his gear on the outside.
No, yeah, he was just kind of in a blue shirt and like shorts. I mean, I think he just had his hands.
He's like a recruit.
Yeah,
he was a hang around. He was like, I'm gonna hang around these guys. They get to carry guns.
They call that a biker gang. He was a prospect.
Yeah, he was a prospect.
He was a militia prospect. I don't know. But the cops came. They arrested him, so he's probably going to go to prison for that. And for what is for a statue of a Spanish conquistador?
Yeah, the way I've seen little bits and pieces, and I haven't even put it all together yet. I did see someone post it and go, stupid idiot attacking people. They deserve to get shot.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah.
And I thought they were shooting over the statue, and I guess the tussle was over the statue. The shot was over getting attacked by people for attacking people.
There was one girl with their arms out. That was the last girl that got slammed. I had heard there was multiple women in one story I read, but I saw one, and she had her arms out. She was kind of trying to block him from getting closer to the statue, and he just grabbed her and slammed her hard to the ground.
So she was trying to protect the statue. Okay.
One of them was brandishing a knife to the throat of the statue, not to militia members, but But yeah,
Do you think it was a movie knife? Like one of those fake blood knives? That would have actually been a little more.
No, it was a real knife.
So it would have been better had they had a fake blood knife. I just want to let you know.
It would have been more dramatic.
Yeah, but it's getting crazy. It's getting nuts out there.
So, and the guy died? They got shot or no? Or we don't know?
No, he lived. I'm pretty sure he lived.
Okay. So he won't get murder.
No. At best attempt.
I wonder and it also depends on what the laws of the state are. But so, what do you guys think about taking down statues?
The idea is there's two sides, and one side's thinking this is our history, and the other side is thinking this is a bad part of history. We need to tear this stuff down. Do we erase it, or do we just replace it?
I mean, I was always taught history in school, and they talk about all this stuff. Statues, I always felt were meant to honor.
Yeah.
Now, some statues, in my opinion, have no business being up. Like in Tennessee, there's a statue of Nathan Bedford Gump.
Okay, who's that?
He is the first Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
Okay, should not be one.
And this was not put up in the during the whole Jim Crow. Okay. This was not put up during the Jim Crow, where a lot of these statues were put up to kind of shame black people. This was put up in 1998. Someone thought it was a good idea. Now, I always hear a couple of different arguments on this. Like, well, did you know that the Democrats were actually the Klan back then? Yeah, I know all that. I know all the Democrats were the Klan, and they were the ones that were the slave owners.
I don't know if that's true, but
It is true.
okay.
It is true. They were
Actually,
registered,
true,
but you know, Lincoln was a Republican. He freed the slaves.
Okay.
Yeah, Lincoln
So
was, yeah,
they always use that argument. So if that's the case, then why are you scared if the Democrats are knocking down their own statues
it's
of
like,
other Democrats? Like, wouldn't you be for that? Like, and if you're not for that, why even defend Nathan Bedford Gump?
And,
What
and
business?
why have the Republicans taken on the Ku Klux Klan? The Ku Klux Klan is Republican now for the most part.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, yeah,
They're,
okay.
they're,
You think
yeah,
they're,
they
you
voted
think
for
they're
Trump.
riding with Biden or vote for Hillary? No,
I
never.
can't imagine a Ku Klux Klan member with like a rainbow patch.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I
happening.
wouldn't rule it out. There's probably a sector somewhere.
They had
Hey, which is one step closer to the truth. You know, it's like, hey.
They had a meeting one day and they're like, "Today we're Republicans now."
Oh, hold on. So, do you think there's no gay Ku Klux Klan members?
Oh, there's definitely at least one.
Yeah, no, there's always
That's in the closet.
There's always that.
Like he's like a legacy. His dad and his grandpappy were Ku Klux Klan, but
boy, you sure do got a purdy
but
mouth.
really he just wants to dance.
Yeah, I just want to dance. That's awesome. We need to find one of those.
Yeah, that'd be a unicorn.
I don't know, man. He's probably out there.
You know what else is crazy is the Confederate flag. I know NASCAR is banning the Confederate flag, which is like, wow,
Yeah.
it's like a huge part of your fan base. But that's another thing I never understood. It's like another thing. It's like it's our history. But the Confederate flag it's a rebellion against a United States. You know, it's a
It was
coup
one
d'etat,
side that
you
lost. It was one side.
Yeah,
that lost.
it's you know, it doesn't make sense to honor that.
The case can be made that they were traitors and that they lost.
Exactly.
They
They're
attacked their own
yeah.
country.
It was treason at the highest. You know, if I
But people in the South are like, the South will rise again, and
It's not going to rise again.
And like,
they got all the guns.
Nah, they don't.
Have you seen Antifa? They can't fight.
Dude,
They
Republicans
can't fight their way out
love...
of, Antifa can't fight out of a wet paper bag. Yeah, in a civil war, I
yeah,
put money
Antifa's
on
gonna
the
block
South.
the shit out of you though.
Usually it's like a really
they're gonna steal all the hashtags.
It's usually like a
Antifa.
really weak guy, and then he gets thrown down, and it's like this short, angry lady scream, like Danny DeVito style, looking, just screaming at some guy, just fend the one weak guy on the ground. I'm like, yeah, you guys are gonna lose against the South. But yeah, I hope there's no civil war. I don't want crazy people running around.
Well, you know, the thing is the white supremacists they really want a race war.
Oh, of course.
And that's why when they want to keep the monuments up, that's why they're always trying to like causing problems, bombing. But yeah, I think it's kind of sad for me as an artist because the rebel flag looks cool. It's a really cool design.
Yeah.
But and then people had to ruin
It's a
it.
hazard. I grew up watching that.
As a car buff, if I was to make the General Lee, it's going to have the Confederate flag on top.
Yeah.
And I'll drive that around town just like I would the Scooby-Doo van.
But now it's Starsky and Hutch. No General Lee.
Yeah.
Do not drive the General Lee around town.
No, I'll still do it.
It's gonna get keyed.
No,
Yeah,
but I'll
the
take
Gen-
Bolo. Let's roll Bolo.
But yeah, I think I've been saying for a long time they got to move all that stuff to the museums if they want to keep it.
Yeah.
And just put up another statue. It's like do you think that Germany should have left up all of their swastikas
Nazi-
and
absolutely
Nazi
not.
stuff?
There
and
had to have
their-
been Hitler
and the
statues,
Hitler
somewhere
for sure.
back in the day.
And Hussein had up all of the Hussein statues. It's like, yeah, it's destroying history, but we don't have to destroy it if we put it in a museum
Just
with
put it somewhere.
all the naked Greek
Learn
statues.
from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, learn
It's
from
been
it.
200 years. There's a lot we can learn from where we were 200 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's so much boring stuff in the museum. I think some giant statues would be awesome.
That would be cool.
So, should we have a racist museum? Because I know a lot of that would
They
just be a
exist.
historical thing.
There's one in Florida, actually, and
A racist museum.
there's one in Florida, and actually that's where I learned that how this is the saddest thing ever. But and it's actually in the news right now. This is perfect. One of the universities in Florida where they have the gator. I forget which. I don't follow
Florida Gators.
Florida Gators.
Okay.
There you go. Boom. Anyways, they're in a lot of water right now because of their song.
Gators in water.
Gator bait. Well,
Oh,
as far as
okay.
originally where the term comes from in Florida, gator bait was they used to tie small African American children to trees
Oh, no.
and for the gators,
Oh, that's crazy.
and that's where the term gator bait came from. So now they're in hot water, and the school's like, "This is our fight song. This has nothing to do with that," But it's just and that's where I actually found that story. Not that story, but what they used to do to little black kids back then in Florida. I learned about that because of a racist museum that's in Florida. I
weird.
saw like a.
Yeah, they have the Museum of Tolerance, which they have a bunch of
in LA.
Holocaust museum.
Yeah,
museums.
Holocaust
and in the
museums.
Museum of Tolerance, they have the Rodney King section.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they play the whole video and they have a bunch of stuff. Like it's not just it's like there's and they confront a bunch of different issues on minorities. So
It should be a thing.
Yeah.
Racist museums are
So
a
like
thing.
a hall of shame for loser general statues.
Yeah, absolutely.
But why are since the Republicans were not the rebels? Why did they say you're getting rid of my history when their history is not being on the side of the rebels?
Yeah, that's the weird thing.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
There was some sort of weird shift change somewhere.
Paradigm. Well, that's what people don't understand and don't see, and it happens all the time. It's happened like 5 times since Trump's been president.
Yeah.
Is Republicans and Democrats are always switching sides.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like how the Democrats
And it
are
changes.
now. Yeah, they when one goes to one side, they're like, oh, we have to swap, so the other side switches because
Well, it's usually
they
because
can't be in the same spot.
of extremism. Once
Yeah.
extremism gets so far that someone's like, "This is getting
It's all
ridiculous
reactionary.
now," and that's what they always convert because, like, I used to be this, but I saw how ridiculous it was, and it works for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
You had you got Antifa right now. You had the Tea Party a few years back,
Mm-hmm.
and at one point everyone was like, "Oh, these Tea Party people are crazy," and now they evolved into the alt
Yeah,
right.
now nobody says Tea Party anymore.
Yeah, and now like it still blows my mind to this day that a few years back, in like when they were doing Charlottesville, that there was just a bunch of dudes marching, like a lot of them too, with tiki torches, screaming, "Jews will not replace us." Like even if I voted for Trump because like I just want a strong economy and he's a businessman and because a lot of people voted for him for that and I love this country, whatever. At some point, if you're in that group, wouldn't you be like, "Ooh, I got to back out of this"? Like, what did I sign up for? I don't want to be involved in this.
And I'm pretty mad that the supremacists are taking Hawaiian stuff like the tiki torch, and now there's the Boogaloo
the
Boys.
Boogaloo Boys, yeah,
They're
with the
taking Hawaiian
shirts.
shirts.
Yeah,
Wow,
What are they
infiltrating
going
with
to
the
take next? Are they
Hawaiian
going to do
coolness.
like? Are they going to take
they're not stealing my
grass
culture.
skirts or coconut?
If they show up in sombreros,
bikinis.
I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, sombreros.
I'm gonna be really mad.
And I talk about. I mean, they're the ones. Well, appropriation, but appropriating it for racism, which is actually bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, tiki torches. That's a weird.
What? Pause. So we mentioned Antifa a few times. I just wanted to say one thing since we're talking about Antifa. Other people might have different opinions, but me personally, I don't believe that Antifa is a group. I think it's just
Or a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can be a threat.
I don't
Why
think
do you say that?
I don't think they're a real entity. They have no.
Property damage, yes.
But I think sometimes they're just protesters and they're called Antifa. But I don't know that they identify themselves as Antifa.
A lot of
So
people.
they're not organized.
Well, no one's organized. That's the problem. Oddly, the
The
militia,
Klan is organized.
the militias are a little organized, but like as far as
So one thing I was saying before today was so the KKK and white supremacy has been around for 155 years, and they're still not considered a domestic terrorist organization, even though they've bombed, they've assassinated, they've lynched, they've human trafficked.
I actually heard Trump was signing a bill to make white supremacists a terrorist group, but
That was fake. That actually didn't happen.
it didn't happen.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. My sister posted it, but that wasn't actually. Later, I was like, "Where did that news article go?" And I did a search. It doesn't exist. It was like a fake article. He never actually
Onion.
did that.
Oh, university did that.
But there was a news article that actually said that Trump had declared white supremacy or the KKK something a terrorist organization.
Yeah, white supremacists, because there was
Yeah.
no mention of KKK.
Oh, okay.
But when you think about it, KKK, just for all the crimes they've done
Yeah.
in the past and all the murder.
I think a lot of the mass shootings were people who were associated with supremacy in some way or trying to start a race war.
and that's kind of
Like Manson was trying to start a race war.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
supremacy of some kind.
yeah, Manson was definitely, that was his whole end game, and him and his family were going to be the only ones victorious in Death Valley. That was
So
his
the
whole plan.
swastika on his forehead, he was actually...
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he was always
pretty
weird because he
committed.
was peace. He was
Committed.
He was a space cadet, man. He was out there.
Yeah.
He was in prison. He was in prison more than he was on the outside.
Yeah.
When he was a kid.
But Antifa's barely been around for 4 years. How much damage can they do in 4 years?
Yeah.
And
And how
They
long
just
has
had
the
some small
KKK been
riots.
around?
I don't even think anyone's.
155 years.
I'm pretty sure
okay.
nobody's been killed by Antifa.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's been killed.
There was the
but
one guy who stormed the ICE detention center.
I think they gave a couple black eyes. Well, where I
and he
knew
had guns and like grenades or something, and they killed him immediately.
where I knew that Antifa went wrong was when they started doing the punch a Nazi. Now, the idea of punching a Nazi is not bad, but I knew it would go overboard when they felt like they had to punch everyone that they labeled a Nazi.
Exactly.
And now that's what is getting reversed on them,
Yeah.
is anybody who's against Trump is going to be called Antifa.
Antifa. Yeah.
In the same way that Antifa, was calling everybody a Nazi.
Yeah, like I don't like Biden. I'm not a fan of Biden. But the second I say something like that, people peg me as a Trump supporter. I can't stand Trump. People, second they hear that, they must think I love Hillary.
But I thought you did like Trump.
Huh? No.
Did, at first?
God, no.
Man.
Never.
Maybe it was Steve.
It's Steve does.
Steve did in the beginning, yeah, and that's fine. Like I have tons of family and friends who are on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
I don't think he's fit for president. I think he's an egotistical maniac. He plays on. He basically just what does my base want? You want me to hug a flag? You want me to hold up a Bible? If you took like there was that video, hey, what's your favorite Bible verse? I don't like to dude. Just
yeah, we went on that one.
yeah, just
Jesus
do John.
wept.
Just do John 3:16. Everyone, you see it at the
say it,
basketball
John
games.
3:16.
Everyone knows that one at least. Just wing it, something. You know.
What's your favorite Bible verse, Dave?
Probably the Book of Revelation.
Revelation.
What was the one the judge like? Ruth, I think, nailed a king's head to the ground.
Oh yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that
Game
one's
of Thrones style right there.
There was a
I like Jesus wept.
there was a
It's like that he
verse
cried.
that said, "You shall not drink from your own ass,"
Oh,
but it meant
shit.
donkey.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't remember the
It's
details
saying
of that.
don't
You
drink
thought it was
donkey
about
urine.
salad tossing or
So,
something?
They had to make a
but it's
rule.
there. They
back
didn't.
then.
That didn't age well. That verse.
No. But that should just be general knowledge, even in today's times.
Yeah,
I think.
I followed. I followed that one.
Yeah,
I don't know why it's not one of the 10 Commandments.
I've
Naturally.
never heard that one.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff in there.
It's the 11th commandment. God's like, I'll leave that one
I'll
off.
leave that one off. My
Maybe-
wrist
I don't
is
think
tired
that's a
from
problem
carving.
yet. And so how do we feel about products? They're changing the product. Like we grew up
Like
with
the Aunt Jemima.
we grew up with Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben.
Oh, we're
Uncle
getting
Ben's.
into the racist part. Pancakes and
Right,
waffles,
pancakes and
baby.
waffles,
Here
yeah.
we go.
Like, if
Ice
that's what's
cream.
keeping you up at night, like if you're waking up in the morning and you're upset because Aunt Jemima looks a little more modern, like you got bigger problems in life.
So you're
Yeah.
saying it's not racist to make her super hot? 'Cause I'm down with that. Hey, and then when you're halfway down the bottle, you got a half white, half caramel.
Like an aunt in today's standards.
I always thought that was.
Like the
I
aunt
always
that's
thought
like
that was.
28.
Yeah, the banging at.
I always thought that was weird
G-string.
pouring. I always wanted the whatever syrup that is it Aunt Jemima that's shaped like a person.
That's Mrs.
Yeah.
Buttersworth.
Oh, Buttersworth.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I don't know if that was.
She was like a British lady, I think.
Oh, okay.
She was
yeah,
fine.
Buttersworth sounds. Yeah, I just thought it was weird pouring syrup out of somebody's head,
Yeah, right.
but yeah.
Get in there. No, but yeah, they're doing. They're
You do
doing.
that with everything they can do with hot sauce. Just have something banging Juanita.
I saw a funny meme today. It was the Tapatio, and it's like they better not come for our Theo, you know. Like, and it was a picture of the Tapatio guy. But yeah,
Yeah, I think rebranding happens all the time, and it actually makes me a little sad when I love. Most major companies change their branding every year or 2 years,
Yeah.
and I get sad sometimes when I get attached to one, but they do it every year. Like, it's not abnormal to rebrand, change your branding, so they're just doing that. It's their company; they can do what they want.
It's
I'm
a
not
good
gonna-
excuse for business, too.
Yeah. Oh, and they're
just eat
and,
your pancakes. Shut up.
and they're yeah,
it
they're,
could have worked. Take care
they're
of your
getting all
kids.
this publicity for free for changing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
And every little thing counts. I don't want to sound like the lame whatever, but
Like, this
every
is,
little
this is
thing
the
counts.
argument
It's
you're
just a little
gonna.
thing,
Yeah,
you know?
who cares?
Yes,
who cares?
somebody's gonna die on that hill, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird hill.
And here's the thing where I always say it goes too far on both sides, left and right. You got extremism on the left, you got extremism on the right. They're both crazy people. You got one person that's trying to force something onto you. They hate fascism so much that they're going to use the tactic of fascism to force it on you. And then you got the other side that just has zero empathy and doesn't want to see what it's like to be on the other side. You know what I mean?
Oh, and Denny, you were talking about the history of Aunt Jemima.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I've seen two things. I haven't dove into it much, but I've seen like the
She was a real person.
She was a real person. It was
but
based
she had a different name.
Different name, exactly. They based it on a real person. She was a former slave when she was younger. So, you know, this company gave her lots of money. So it's a good thing for her. So you'll see like right wing stuff on Facebook where it's like she died a millionaire. They took care of her, all this stuff. And then you'll see like left wing propaganda where it's like actually the company really screwed her family out of all these royalties and like it's all up in the air. You know what I mean? And if they're going to change it, great. If the family is owed royalties from years ago because of like
then they
misuse
should
of an image,
Yeah.
pay them. That's not reparations. That's money owed.
Yeah. That's just capitalism and,
Yeah.
and copyrights.
Reparations is another
Yeah.
argument. First of all, how would you even figure out? because there's no family trees. A lot of people were freed slaves. They didn't have access to paper and pens, and
I think a lot of them kept their names.
Some did. Some changed them.
I think you can do a search and at least make an attempt.
I was confused by reparations because, for a long time I will not have an opinion until I get enough information. For a long time I didn't study that.
You have families today that are wealthy because of it.
But one point is that I thought was
white families.
An interesting point is that is land ownership. That actually, in many areas, black people were not allowed to buy land, and that put them behind in wealth, like by a lot. And then when they did get land, it got taken away or blown up.
It's called something like 3 acres and a mule. Like everybody who was a slave got 3 acres, every family or something. But not everybody got that. It was a promise that wasn't kept with everybody. But then what's 3 acres and a mule going to do for some people? It's like, and then they're not giving them the prime land. Yeah. Hey, your 3 acres are right here next to the Walmart.
Or was it called bottom land?
It was bottom land.
It was full of rocks.
Yeah, man.
Crops won't grow.
What they did to the Hawaiians. 50% Hawaiian. If you're not 50% Hawaiian, you don't qualify for the land in Hawaii. That's a lottery anyways. It doesn't matter. Nobody's getting it.
A certain percentage has to be owned by natives of some kind.
Yeah. So they give you a lottery version of volcano land, the volcanic rock area.
The land
inside the volcano.
And even though our family, you can go back many generations in Hawaii, we're part Chinese, so we don't even qualify as Hawaiian Chinese, instead of Hawaiian.
Our family had a lot of jungle fever going on.
Yeah, because they lived in a jungle and they were, fucking.
I'm perplexed on my family because I look Irish.
You look Irish as fuck.
And I'm a first generation. Parents are from Mexico and South America. So I don't know what happened. So if you think there's not racism.
No, but everybody in Zacatecas is like, not everybody, I'm saying.
No, there's some light-skinned ones.
Light-skinned, American-looking green
But that's
eyes.
the weird thing. My mom's from Mexico and she's light-skinned, and my dad's from Argentina. He was more darker skinned. Not dark, but
we can delve into this because this is my brother, but he was 2 years old when our parents got married. I was 7.
I think I was like 3 or 4. Yeah.
3 or 4. So then add a year to my numbers. But I was so young. I've known him all my life, and he was even younger than that because he was like in diapers, and he did not speak English.
Not a word of English.
Yeah, just Spanish.
And now I don't know Spanish.
Not a word.
Which means that I've heard all the racist jokes that white people will come up and tell me too all the time.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I've had people. I had a lady do it today. We were at the bank.
It's weird to be undercover white, huh?
It is. It's so
my
weird.
ex-wife was half Mexican.
Yeah.
And her mom was very dark, but she was super light skinned.
Yeah.
And she got to
looked
hear
white.
it all, and that was kind of messed up.
Yeah,
I felt bad.
Yeah. So there's definitely
She didn't know either. She's not on.
There's definitely racism. There's degrees. That's what people.
Even
there's no black or white. There's degrees of racism.
Even when you tell the racist people and your own people that you're Mexican, they go no.
Yeah.
They tell you you're not.
And I've been jumped in Mexican neighborhoods for looking white. So I've seen the opposite side of racism. I see a lot of those videos going out where that white dude got beat up by like those 5 black dudes, BLM, and so it's supposed to stir up anger, and that's how you get extreme. That's the thing. There's assholes in every race. Yeah. You're going to be wronged by people in every race, and it may happen a lot by one race because you live in a shitty neighborhood or something. And at the end of the day, there's assholes in every race. Yeah. If you can't separate the skin color from them just being an asshole. Then, because the second you go to racism, you
can't
lost
decide
the argument.
that's how they all are.
Yeah, the second you go to racism, you lost the argument.
Well, so I like what Sam Harris said. He says that at some point it would be great if skin color was as important as somebody's hair color. Yeah, which is not important.
Well, it is important. I'm into brunettes. I'm down with that. Yeah. But it's not just who you don't like; it's who you do like more. Because I like blondes too, some redheads, and
I'm into blondes, and that's why I go through depression every couple of years.
So
blondes are crazy.
Let me tell this story. I think it'll be interesting. Danny had a group of friends that didn't know he was half Mexican and half Argentinian.
Yeah.
And thought he was a white boy, and we hung out. And they welded on trucks all the time, and they had that warehouse. And they're shooting bottle rockets at each other and shit.
Yeah.
And it was the craziest thing because I'm a white boy, I do crazy shit too, but only half crazy. And these guys are full crazy, right? And so they wanted to go to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. And I was like, I don't know about this because I'm pretty sure
They're like they were like half skinhead. Like these were guys that had probably been. I think they were in jail a couple times.
Yeah.
And so once you're in jail, you
They were
clink up with your race. You know, that's what you do.
You gotta find friends.
They were like toes half in. You know.
So I know they were going there to like create a race riot.
Probably. Yeah.
But we get there and the food's good and the lady's so nice and the Kool-Aid's good and the jar. So they all clammed up. And they were like, "Oh, the fruit's not too bad." But I thought we were going over there. Like, I'm pretty sure I was going to see some like Nazi hand signs going up, and it was going to be nut bags. But no, we went over and it had chicken.
They're pacified by the chicken.
Yeah,
you know, I had a family member, and I wouldn't say it on the podcast, but at one point, this family member, he fell in with a group of skinheads.
Talking about Joe.
I'm going to post this on my Twitter.
Yeah.
He's not anymore. He's a great guy. I love him to death. He's my brother. I love him. But at one point he fell in, and the reason why, and this is where it got crazy, because we were living in a town in Chicago, like a small suburb, and there was a large gang of Muslims, and they would dress like gangsters, like they were like the Raiders jackets, like in the '90s and everything. They dressed like gangsters, but they would like jump dudes, and they would scream things like "Death to America." This is all pre 9/11. This is like 7-8 years before 9/11, right?
Yeah.
And they were screaming all that stuff, and it's crazy because even after 9/11, the next terrorist
Did that
plot
push him in that direction?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the kids or a couple kids in that school, they were over it, and they clicked up, and they weren't even really against the other races, but it turned to that stuff, and before you know it, there was a full blown little skinhead gang. Like one dude used to walk around and he had a little Hitler mustache. And I remember we went to go visit for like Christmas.
Sharpie or real hair?
Oh, real hair. Like this guy would walk around town. He was committed. And,
Sharpie's committed. I just
she's still committed, but this guy was in.
You go Chaplin with it.
Yeah. So I remember we went to go visit for Christmas, and it was me and my brother Steve, who looks just like me but brown, and we're hanging out with these guys. And,
we call them.
Yeah, and they were like, "You guys are cool." Like they were cool with us. They knew that we were Mexican, but
You had representation.
they were over it exactly because our brother. So, but now like none of those guys are even scared. It was just like a phase where they're just like, and that's the point. That's how quick you can get radicalized.
Yeah, I remember
when you're young, you can get radicalized. I think easier. You're a little more impressionable.
I thought it was cool when I was a kid. I don't know if you even remember. Well, when I was living in Huntington, and John came over one day, we were hopping a fence because we'd hopped the fence. We parked in the other parking lot. And there was a group of guys in the alleyway, and if it was just me, they wouldn't have said anything because I'm like a little more nerdy. I have glasses, but John's a big dude, and we hopped the fence. No, the guys, they're like, we hopped the fence. And he's like, something like white power or something, and John's like, nah, I'm not into that. And then they kind of like slunk away.
White power. No, I'm good.
That happened to one of my buddies. He turned
That'd be a messed up name for a cookie.
Do you remember my buddy? We used to call him Little John. He was like that, young kid we used to hang out with when I lived in Capo Beach. This kid was really cool. He was a skater and everything. And one day I was at a party and I hadn't seen him in a while. I guess he'd done a little bit of time. And I'm hanging out with them, and I'm like, "Oh man, you got a cool tattoo. What is that? Let me see that." And because I could see some ink on his calf, and he twisted his leg around, and it's a giant the eagle on the swastika or whatever. And he was with two of his new skinhead friends. So just to mess with them, I look at him like, "Oh man, I'm Mexican." And he goes, I know. Like he didn't, he knew we were friends, But I was calling him out. I was calling him out in front of his friends just to see what he would do, just to mess with them. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that guy's probably still a skinhead.
One of my buddies has a great story he likes to tell. He's a white Mexican, and he got with this chick. They dug each other. They one date, and he's in her room, and then the next morning, her brother calls, and he hears him on speakerphone, and he's a white supremacist, and that's hilarious to him. So he tells the brother what they just did and what he is.
Oh God.
I'm Mexican.
It's stupid to just. I know.
You know what though? The world's gotten a little better with that, and this is a true story. Me and my wife were in the mall, and some girl at the what's the hot dog?
Hot dog on a stick.
Hot dog on a stick.
Muscle Beach now.
In the '90s, they used to have the little girls, jumping up and down to do them.
On the lemon, yeah.
They don't do that anymore, I don't believe, because it was just a little too much. Their hiring was geared towards girls that look good jumping up and down on it,
Yeah.
Anyways, she says, I just seen something crazy, and it was a guy, and he had a swastika on his shirt, and he had white laces or something, red laces, I forget.
Yeah.
And we're all,
that means you
that's
killed
crazy.
somebody usually when you have the
Yeah,
laces.
something like that.
White
And
laces means white power, red means white power, but you killed somebody.
Well, we're in Orange County, and that story used to be, it wouldn't have been a thing a hot dog on a stick girl would have said, because she would have seen at least, I don't know, 10 of those, 20 of those in a day. But nowadays, you see one of those in a year, that's a lot. So the mankind is still starting to change, at least in this area. I know there's a lot of pockets out there that are still, I mean, you're in Mississippi, you kind of know racism's just okay, you know, and so there's still a lot of areas that's wrong, because racism is never okay, obviously.
No,
but
it's
that was a
so
crazy thing
embedded
for
in
this girl to
people's-
see,
Yeah,
and for us to see that back in the 90s, that was I mean, I knew a skinhead guy who bragged about opening the door because some kid was selling candy for his school, butt ass naked. Yeah, I told him, I showed him. You know what I mean? It's weird. You don't want to show him that. What if, you know, that's weird.
pretty sure you can be brought up on like sex offender charges. if
Yeah,
you do that to
nowadays.
the-
But in the 90s, you know, it was a Wild West in a sense.
90s were crazy.
Yeah.
But see, that's why I like history so much, because history repeats itself. We're seeing the same stuff we did in the 90s, but at a larger scale. We have
What's an example of that? Because
coronavirus, the Spanish flu,
okay, so you're talking about like nature and then history.
everything, politics, history. That's why history has always been my favorite subject in school. I always sucked at everything else, but I loved history.
Yeah, I loved history too.
Yeah, because it repeats itself. So if you know history, it's kind of like a foreshadowing of the future.
They tried to take over and then they were stopped. They tried to take over again and then they were stopped. Which is why the Germans should not have an army. Because you try to take over the third time.
They declared war on the whole world.
On the whole world. But you know what? I can understand it repeating itself because, in a sense, we're trying to find the balance. But we're a pendulum. So we swing right, we swing left, we swing right. But every time we swing less right or less left until mankind does find that balance and it comes to a stop. And that may never end because the pendulum is ever, you know, it goes on forever. But the pendulum swings less right and less left. And we have to look at that like that's a real thing. Because slaves happened in the Bible days. It was a normal thing. The Bible teaches you how to keep slaves, how you should treat them.
You're supposed to nail their ear to a door. The Bible tells you that.
Yeah, and then you can trick them into being slaves forever because all you have to do is say, hey, I own your family, and if you want to stay, then I tag your ear and you become like... So the Bible and the whole philosophy, which was good, which was a compass...
It must suck to carry a door around by your ear.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Bummer.
That is a bummer. Can you imagine if like Jesus had to carry the cross around by his ear? Just like every other dude with a little ear, with a little earring. No, it's a little earring. I'm saying, if you were Jesus, would you have a cross earring? That's messed up.
I would have cross PTSD.
Off subject for sure on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's nuts. What do you guys think of? What do you think of Biden?
Not a fan.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Honestly, 100%. The one thing, number one, he's going senile, and number two, you can't convince me that that's a doctored video of him with all the kids. I mean, if you just YouTube,
It's not doctored.
it's not doctored. If you just YouTube,
It's just a condensed version of what was happening.
exactly. They take a couple hours and they put it in like a couple minutes. That was enough. Yeah, I don't care if it was 2 weeks. That was creepy.
You know what? You know
it's
what
like
was
he's
enough?
grooming these kids. It freaks me out.
You know what was enough for me? Was when he said, why don't they just shoot the rubber bullets low? I mean, come on, man. Like, you're not thinking right. Shoot the rubber bullets low. Just don't shoot them at all.
Don't shoot them all, but
Just shoot him in the dick.
Yeah, just shoot them in the dick.
if you're going to shoot rubber bullets and you shoot them low, I'm assuming that could ricochet high.
The idea was,
even
why are we
pop
using
someone
rubber
in the eye or
bullets?
something? But
Why
yeah,
are we-
yeah.
How many looters do you think got shot by rubber bullets? I'd say more protesters did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Way more.
And if you're on the
protesters.
front line, you become the worst protester or you're the best protester because you're on the front line. Frontline protesters should not be victimized and villainized. Absolutely not. Those are the ones standing in the front that are trying to make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
It's the ones in the back that are hiding behind the protesters that are looting.
The opportunist.
The opportunists.
Yeah.
And so
and they let them. A lot of them, they just kind of give them carte blanche.
What's the ones behind that are throwing stuff too? It's not the ones on the front.
Those are dumbass kids.
Yeah,
stupid ass kids, man.
Yeah,
I didn't see a lot of 50-year-olds.
If you're an out of control 17-year-old kid already,
yeah, and
someone's telling you they're protesting in the streets, you're gonna go out there and you're gonna be out of control. That's the whole thing where it's like you can't judge, this group entirely based on actions of few
or age. Or age either.
Because what they're protesting for, what the actual protest is about, is legitimate. The only person that could agree that George Floyd deserved that would be people who are white supremacists. And I'm not talking about his past or what he did before. I'm talking about that instance.
Did he hold a gun to a pregnant lady's belly?
And that's the argument, yes.
Okay, so I'm not saying that he should be glorified in his actions, but do you think that pregnant lady thinks that is glad that he died?
That's I've thought that several times over the last few weeks. I wonder what that pregnant woman is thinking right now. In her mind, is she like low-key happy about it that he's dead? Because I mean, how traumatizing would that be as a pregnant woman for a group of guys to come barreling in your house and one of them
somebody
puts a
did
gun
that
in your
to me, I would hold a grudge forever.
Right?
Forever. If
Exactly.
somebody did that to
if
my
someone
wife,
put a gun to your exactly. So for that person, they have a legitimate anger about the whole situation. I have no idea. I don't think anyone's trying to reach out to them. They probably ignored it if they did.
obviously, I mean,
They don't want to be involved in any of this.
This is an individual case, though. If somebody turns their life around, though, sometimes people will say, "Oh, if they notice a real change."
Exactly.
But it's up to the individual. I mean,
Exactly.
if they want to hold a grudge,
Yeah.
they can.
And
It's
then
up to
people
them.
will say, "Well, he was
They
drunk and
wanna-
high, so how much was he changing his life around?"
Yeah, that could be said as well.
well,
Yeah.
I'm drunk and high right now.
And that's what I'm saying. A lot of people drink and
trying to turn my life
I'm
around.
just saying. But yeah, there's no one, and there's even lots of stories that they knew each other, that they both worked in the same club, they both bounced, and this is for an interview from the club owner, and that they clashed heads a few times, that they did know each other.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
So now this can be, in my opinion, if that's true, wouldn't this act as a possible premeditation?
Well, and this is a
But
detour.
maybe not, because they were called to, he didn't seek him out,
yeah, but it was a subconscious. Finally, I get this motherfucker. I can best him.
And the owner
yeah,
said that he
yeah.
was always skittish when it was like Black Night at the club. Like
He was a little trigger happy.
Chauvin, or Officer Derek Chauvin.
Yeah, they said
not
that-
trigger happy. He'd get like all skittish or upset,
Yeah, she basically said the cops were cop-like. They grouped together. They wouldn't confront on their own.
Like they wouldn't
and
mingle with
they're
just the
edgy,
bouncers.
like trigger happy. Yeah, edgy, on edge.
Yeah. And like, there's a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of great cops. I always tell people I follow this cop on my page. I've been following him for years before any of this was before.
Derek Chauvin?
No, not that cop.
Oh, okay.
No, it's this cop named Officer Tommy M. Norman, I think is his name. And this guy works out of Little Rock. And if you know anything about Little Rock, Arkansas, during the 80s, when a lot of the gangs were getting, the Bloods and the Crips were getting busted up by gang LAPD units, they sent out a lot of their, top guys to different parts of the country to make the Bloods and Crips eternal throughout the whole world, throughout America. And a lot of them landed in Little Rock for some weird reason, Little Rock, Arkansas. And it became just this gangland territory, and it's been bad ever since, certain parts of it.
Huh.
And he patrols that division, and all of his videos, like he always shoots lots of videos, but he'll pick up these people, he'll take them out to go get McDonald's, like these people have no money.
Yeah.
He'll give the kids rides to school, he'll bring them like slip and slides and
So what a
water
police
guns.
officer should do.
A community, and you got to think, like if some people don't have that in them. I mean, after I work like a 50-hour week, I don't want to go do volunteer work. I want to see my kids and do that,
Yeah.
But if you have a couple guys like that, it's seeing the people. It's seeing the people. Just because it's not your neighborhood, you got to see everyone there. That there are people that live there, good people.
Yeah.
And not see everybody just as the criminal element
Can't
that
see
you're
us
arresting
versus
every day.
them. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, how do you differentiate? You got to get to know these people. You got to like get a dialect going. Give out your
hard.
cards.
Dialogue.
Call me if you or dialogue. Yeah, call me if you need anything. I'm gonna be patrolling this neighborhood. Knock on the door. Introduce yourself.
Because cops don't normally live in the neighborhoods they patrol. Because
Exactly.
That's a
'cause
dangerous
it'd be a bad
thing.
idea.
Yeah.
If criminals
also-
knew where you live.
Which adds to the PTSD of a cop.
Yeah.
Because
They
I
also
know
group together in the same neighborhood too. They like to
Yeah, they
live by
do.
each other.
because I know a cop who lived across the street from somebody that he put in jail, and he lived in a fear.
Yeah.
But who's to say the guy across the street even remembered him, and he doesn't know? But still, it's a legitimate fear.
Yeah.
And it was a PTSD, and where he quit his job because, and I'm going to tell this story but I'm not going to say a name, and it's not Joe. But
Thanks for that.
he shook his daughter, who was 7 or 8 or something, young girl, shook his daughter because he went into cop mode for a second. And he knew that it was time for him to get out. And that's something that we can see. They have to have psychological experts, analysts of sort in the police station to see if there is PTSD involved. That is time this person finds another job.
They should be evaluated every now and then.
Yeah. And then take another position in this area.
I feel like that way with anyone that has a gun, too. I'm talking about people who legally own guns. And I know you're going to make the argument, well, what about the people who illegally own guns? Well, obviously you're not going to get them to show up for a class.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it's too easy to...
or at least they're not going to bring their gun.
You know, what's to stop me from buying a gun or two and selling it and falling off the serial numbers and just saying it was stolen? You know what I mean?
You get less money for a gun that's stolen. I think. Well, no, actually, I'm not in the world, so I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, maybe you file the serial number, you double. Don't tell me that.
But here's the thing.
I'll be in the room filing serial numbers off, trying to double my money, go buy another one, you know?
Like a scratcher.
Here's the other thing. When it comes to guns...
No, I'm not going to do that.
The whole argument of, like, it's to protect myself or, God forbid, to protect myself from a corrupt government, right?
Yeah.
Number one, the government's got drones. Your AR-15 is not going to cut it. Yeah. Number two, yes, you get to protect your family, your house, your property. That's great. I think there's too many people that are just like, and you see it all the time because you see them on Facebook. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people that own guns love guns because they're fun.
Yeah.
They're fun as shit. I'll admit it. I haven't shot a gun since I was 8, but I've shot a gun and they are fun.
Great story for another podcast.
Great story for another podcast.
The shell went down your shirt. It burnt you.
No,
you freaked out.
No, one shell. No, that was a different thing. That was a shell that hit me in the head while I was still hot.
I've been shot. I've been shot. That's a good story for this podcast. He thought he was shot.
No, but it's more of a. I was 8. It's more of a gun culture where it's like people just go nuts over guns. That's why they take pictures with their guns. They post videos with their guns, and that's fine. I just want you to own it and just admit it that it's fun, and that's why you like guns.
That's exactly why I own them. It's fun.
It's fun. Just admit it. That's the thing. And I know you will admit it, but you'll never see anyone admit that.
I don't.
There's no need for 20 guns.
I don't have a problem with people owning guns.
I never want to shoot somebody.
But do we know anybody that has needed their gun in a situation
Uncle Russ?
they have it for?
How many times have someone broke into our house, like while we were there? I think one time I walked in with Uncle Bob and Dad, and the guy was in the house. We turned on the light, and he was in the kitchen. He's like, oh, and he bolted out the back door, and they chased him, and he got away.
Yeah, but there was no need for a gun. That guy ran. And you can't shoot him in the back. And once he hits the door, you can't shoot him.
Wasn't there a story about Uncle Bob chasing somebody with a gun in his underwear?
Yeah, no, he shot. Can we say this? He's passed away now. Rest in peace. I love my Uncle Bob. He was a wild man.
Rest in peace.
Perfect example of a person who changed his life, worked in the prison system, and helped many people. Had a humongous funeral. Yeah. But in his crazy...
had a big heart.
Big heart. Yeah, passionate and smart. But in his younger days, he was a criminal. And at some point, he wasn't afraid to shoot somebody. And he was on the right end of things. We lived in an area that was kind of a farm area, Rolling Heights, and we had cows and they had horses next door. And so there was spaces in between the houses. And there was there were a couple people stealing tools out of my dad's truck. And my uncle heard everything. He went to the door and sure enough, fired a shot and shot somebody with the shotgun. Mm-hmm. It was from distance, so it tore him up pretty good. They probably dragged him. He probably didn't die because it was a shotgun from distance with buckshot. But they pulled him into the truck and they drove off, and nobody ever tried to steal anything ever again. And nothing ever happened. The cops weren't called. He probably was a felon at the time. I mean, it would have been...
try to heal himself up, fix himself up on their own.
That guy,
go to a veterinarian, because that's what they do in the movies.
Go to a veterinarian.
Yeah, go to a veterinarian.
Yeah, that's like a mob thing.
Most likely, he probably quit that job and decided to go legit and paint somewhere, and it's changed his life and has a whole different story.
And a limp.
But the story is that he shot somebody, and I was a kid, and I heard the gunshot.
And that's the thing. Uncle Bob had a troubled past, but he meant something to our family, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think life is precious. And that's why it always trips me out when I see, like, the Facebook post where people are like, oh, someone breaks into my house, they're going to meet my 357 Magnum. Like, why are you so quick to... Number one, why are you bragging about what kind of gun you have? If I own a gun, no one's going to know about it. It's going to be my gun. I don't need to go on Facebook and tell everybody, the whole world, what kind of guns I have. Yeah. Number two... why are you so quick to want to end a life?
You know what? I'm not going to lie. If somebody comes into my house...
if you have to, you have to.
I'm going to put the green dot up. And if they don't run from the green dot, they're going to get shot.
Exactly.
And,
Well, no.
I say that. I don't know
tell
if that's true. Will I pull the trigger in the time? It's a whole different...
Are you going
If
to
I have
bite
the
in it and
distance-
shoot him low?
No, I'm not going to bite it and shoot him low. Just load him with rubber bullets.
Shoot at the ground and hope it ricochets his ankle.
No, because they'll sue me and then take my everything I own, you know?
And well, see, that's the thing. You get a lot of people on the left, and I'm not a big gun guy, but you get a lot of people on the left who'd be like, well, do you have to shoot to kill every time? Why can't you shoot for the leg? Okay, first of all, that's something you see in a movie. It doesn't work. Shoot out the tires. Yeah. Do you know, number one, you know how hard it is to shoot a moving target?
Yeah.
Number two, I'm assuming,
Gotta lead them.
you guys know more than I do, they teach you to aim for the largest part of the body, which is the sternum. And it's also a kill point. It's the point you're most likely to hit. And the point about a gun is this is what I was always told by our dad, you should never pull out a gun unless you intend to kill. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. It's number one, if I had a gun and somebody broke into my house and they're in my living room and I'm in the hallway and I got my gun on them and they're like a good 7 feet away from me, I'm going to try to talk the guy down. I'm like, dude, I need you to get on the ground and I'm going to call the cops. Now, if he comes at me, I'm going to shoot him. If he runs out of the house, I'm just going to call the cops. Because number one, you're in California.
Well, let's say
if you shoot someone in the back or they're outside your house, you're going to prison.
well, let's say I'm getting mugged and I have a gun on me. Now I'm thinking about whether I'm going to pull out a gun and shoot somebody. Mm-hmm. But
I would.
The best thing you should
Not
do
shoot, but I mean, I would pull my gun at least.
if you're a female, that's a different scenario. But like,
Absolutely.
if you're a dude, the best thing you can possibly do, the best defense against mugging is giving them your wallet, and that's it.
Yeah.
And letting them go.
And
Nobody gets shot. You just cancel your cards, get new cards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
then he
yeah,
gets
but
all the cash.
But you'll get a lot of proud.
Of my-
But you'll get a lot of proud people who say, "Why does he deserve my hard-earned money? That guy's robbing people."
Or you can try to shoot him, and then he shoots
and
you.
then and you'll hear like the argument, like one less robber.
or
on the
you
street.
have to go to court.
You know what my biggest fear with a gun is that I'm not here. Somebody comes in my house and uses those guns against my family. And that's a good reason to not have a gun.
Well, that's why you should have like a thumbprint or a lock.
Oh yeah, I got it in a full safe.
Yeah.
But do you think they're not going to beat the crap out of my wife saying what's the combo?
Well,
you know,
So
so
never
it's
give her the combo so she can't. Don't negotiate with terrorists.
I don't know, dude. My wife knows karate, so she'll probably beat the crap out of them. You know.
Yeah, I want to mess with Vicky. She'd be some ass.
Well, the first apartment I ever lived in, it was an older guy, and he had a bunch of guns. He had them under his bed. What was cool is the house was decorated in BB guns, so we would just take them off the wall and shoot them in the backyard.
Nice.
But he had his real guns under his bed and in his closet. And there 3 guys lived there, and sometimes we had friends over. Somehow, when we weren't there, someone came in and stole his guns, all of them.
Oh wow.
Somebody knew where they all were and took them.
And the NRA only, as far as I know, insures 3 of them, or around a certain amount of money. I forget what it is. Mine's covered. I haven't bought more than that.
You know what? While we're on this subject, I think the NRA is racist too.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Because
Do you
they
think
were.
so? I don't think so.
Because
I
they'll
think-
take any money. Don't get me wrong.
I
They're
think
going to take money.
systematically,
because they've been definitely silent on.
I don't know
the
about that.
Breonna
Wait.
Taylor case.
Hold on. I want to intro with this. I've seen videos of African American NRA members talking about, what they believe in, and so I'm not necessarily convinced or on board with that. It's a racist group, but I don't know. So I want to hear why that was brought up.
Danny, I'll say mine after you, but what do you think?
So 3 reasons. If the NRA's main argument is that every red-blooded, God-loving American should own a gun for their own protection, there's 3 stories that come to mind where they were extremely silent. And number one is a recent one that's actually going on with the protest. That's Breonna Taylor. This was a no-knock warrant. Police burst in, and I guess the intel was wrong. They thought I was a drug dealer or something like that.
Yeah, she was shot and killed.
Well, Breonna Taylor was in bed with her fiance, who had a legal firearm. No-knock warrants. They didn't identify themselves, even though they said they did. The report came back, like, there's all kinds of details missing and everything. And
A lot, yeah.
yeah, I said that Breonna Taylor's injuries were minor, even though she was shot 8 times and died. Like, a lot of it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it's been months, and the report's still blank. So a lot of unanswered questions. Now, this guy was locked up for shooting at the cop. I think one of the cops got shot in the leg or something like that. He got shot because this guy started opening up because he thought people were breaking into his house.
It was a quick draw.
Yeah, he had no idea. He grabbed his gun and he
That
shot
fool
back.
was ready. He was doing the right thing.
Because they didn't say police.
I'm not that ready. I gotta unzip something, unlock something.
Now, thank God the charges were dropped because that guy does not deserve prison time. These were like, good Americans. She was the EMT. I forgot what he did. I think he was a veteran, possibly, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
So you think the NRA should speak up?
Absolutely.
What do you think, John? Do you think they should say something or no?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's
I
two
think,
other cases, too. There's Philando. Oh, this is from...
What's their stance on it, though? Do we know their stance?
Philander Castillo, the guy who said he had a weapon when the cops pulled him over, and he said he's registered, and they asked him to get it, and he went for it, and they're like, whoa, and they shot him. It's like, what the hell? And there's also the security guard. I forget where this happened, but there was a security guard. A guy had a gun. He stopped it with his concealed carry. Cops rolled up. They saw the black guy with the gun, who was the security guard, shot him on the side.
So I think that the NRA has been trying to embrace the black community. I know they do have a large black community, and they have been trying to help people get guns,
of course,
and get them legally and be trained. So they're definitely not turning away members. But I think the problem is that I think they're all about money now.
Oh yeah.
I think they don't mind arming the good guys, the bad guys, and they don't care who buys a gun.
That's
nationally
what
and internationally.
Yeah,
They're
that's the thing. They hide behind the Second Amendment.
War makes them
which
a
is
lot of
right.
money. Gun companies are selling guns to our enemies and us, and our enemies and us
So the NRA,
indefinitely.
NRA does not sell guns,
But they're
it's
funded
a
by
membership.
right. But it's all tied. I haven't done a major study of this, but it's all about sales. They're paid by the gun companies to believe certain ways. It's all been corrupted with money. I think they do some good things, and I think that the idea that behind them is a good thing. And a lot of what they're doing is a very American.
And maybe at one time when
they
gun
want people to
ownership
be
was responsible,
Yeah.
back in like the 50s when like little Timmy can have a rifle.
They have no control over what race says, "Hey, I want to be a member of the NRA." And in fact, as a corporate structure, they actually would want any race because they want anybody to become a member of the NRA.
They're counting the green dollars. That's
Of
the only
course.
color they carry around.
Well,
Yeah.
So then it makes them right. I mean, not right, but it keeps them to a point of honesty where it's like we're all about white people. Not really. We want everybody.
But the thing
to
is,
buy
if they
guns.
speak out on that, do you think they would get backlash? Because now you're...
Well, maybe they're trying
Maybe
to be
so.
they might be trying to be apolitical, but
Possibly.
that could make them amoral also.
But you're also talking about the same corporation that decided to still go on with their big giant gun expo, like literally a week after Columbine happened, which was like our first like major school shooting.
Well, they don't see those things as connected, and also they actually think guns are the solution to those things.
You know what? In a way, guns could be the solution in the sense that, let's go with the Texas philosophy on this. I remember the first time I saw an older woman pull out a gun and set it on the counter in a liquor store. I was behind her in line in Texas.
Yeah.
And I thought, what the hell is going on? Because I'm a California kid. And she was rifling through her purse to find her money and set a bunch of stuff on the counter. One of them was a gun. And I looked at the guy behind me like, is this weird? Is this weird to anybody else? It was not, because old ladies have guns in Texas, and so does everybody else. And I think you're less likely to have a terrorist attack in Texas because they're going to shoot you. So that's it's a stigma that created a solution.
But also, I think there's a little bit of hypocrisy with Texas. I know everybody knows that about Texas. You probably don't want to pull off anything in Texas. But they also have made it illegal to take in refugees because they don't want to limit refugee gun rights, and they don't want to deal with that problem. So if you're a refugee and you come to California, you get no gun rights and you can't work at the airport.
So then deal with the problem.
What's
like
that?
You should... I don't know that.
So it seems
You say you can't in Texas as a refugee, you get a gun?
You can or you can't.
You can get a gun because they don't want to limit anybody from getting a gun. So they've painted themselves in the predicament where they don't want refugees with guns, so they won't let refugees in. But shouldn't that be the safest place to have refugees if everyone has a gun?
Yeah, it should.
But they don't believe that.
Well,
in practice,
we're
they just say
protecting
it.
refugees from other countries in a sense.
They just don't want it.
One thing can sound good, but to actually implement it
People don't
if they're afraid to implement their ideas that sound really bold when it comes time to do it, it feels a little weird.
So everybody that deflects from the jihad moved to Texas. I'm not saying get a gun. It's just everybody around you will have a gun, and you'll be safe from the jihad. Because no jihad is jihading in Texas. There's only yeehawing in Texas.
See, I just think I don't know. It cracks me up.
I don't think everybody should have guns, and I'm for gun control.
I think it can be different for Texas and here because Texas has a lot of open area, and it's a culture to learn how to use your gun. from a young age, and hunting and all this stuff is more normal. Whereas in a city, you'll have way more people who are not trained with guns.
And you got people living on top of each other. You have all kinds of different demographics.
So in a city, you need more training than you would out in the wilderness.
It should be required to have training especially if you're in a city.
So that would be my version of gun control.
Yeah.
Gun control, you should have some training. I feel safe having a weapon because I slept with the weapon.
See,
like I've slept with my weapon, and it wasn't because I wanted to.
That's
I was
disgusting.
forced to in the Army. And did I have sex with my weapon? That's for a whole nother podcast. But I'm just saying that be very careful with the trigger assembly.
And don't touch his gun. Yeah.
And don't touch my guns, because it'll pinch you. And then if you're touching my gun, you're touching my lady. Because this is my weapon.
They're oiled up a whole different way.
This is my weapon, and this is my gun, and this is for killing, and this is for fun.
That's one thing I regret I never did was going to the Army. I think I'm the only one that didn't go, actually.
You know what? I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go for the experience.
Yeah, it was grand.
But
loved it.
I was overweight and I did a lot of drugs, so I'm pretty sure I would have done. I would have been, I would have been Private Pile right away. They would have beat me with the soaps. I'm like, God damn it, Miranda, get over that.
We had a Private Pile. His last name was Pile, and it was the greatest thing in the world. The drill sergeants loved it.
Did you guys? Did everybody mess with him?
No, he was cool as hell, but he was funny.
But it's just his last name was Pile.
He said, "Drill sergeant, I need some Vaseline because my butthole gets itchy." And we're like, "What the hell?" He actually had to go to the sick call over his butthole. I was, "God damn it, Pile, Private Pile." Yeah, that was a great time. But I think training is. I don't trust people with no training and they have a weapon. I don't trust them. I don't want them behind me.
Yeah, and not everybody should. The thing is, like, everybody should own a gun.
Well,
not everybody should own a gun. I shouldn't own a gun, and I know that.
My wife should not own a gun.
I shouldn't own a gun. If
Or
I own
my
a gun, I'd be like
boyfriend.
Robert De Niro in my mirror every day. I'd clear the chamber. Don't get me wrong, but I'd be sitting there pointing at the mirror like, "You talking to me?" That'd be me every day.
It gets boring.
Because see, a gun makes you feel like.
You go through that phase.
Yeah.
It's like when you first got internet and you went on all the chat rooms.
And that's
like,
what I'm saying. I wish
angry.
gun nuts would just embrace that.
Well, and just because I don't
stop
want
hiding
a gun,
behind all the other excuses.
and I don't feel like I should have a gun, doesn't mean I don't want anybody to have a gun.
Yeah. Of course not.
So would you? And
believe me, if shit is a fan, I want to be protected by my fellow people.
wish I was a person
I'll look for a
that
gun.
should have a gun, but I'm just not.
Do you have an extra one for me? Give me a crash course. We'll figure it out.
Nobody who has guns has an extra gun. Everybody who has guns has
That's
guns.
not true, because not according to all the people I see on Facebook.
Look
Taking
at
pictures of their arsenals.
Yeah, those aren't extra guns. Those are just
You
more
can't carry
guns.
all. Look at you. Give me one.
I'm not
rifle.
carrying them around. I'm firing them from behind my bed with
You're
all my
gonna need
family
extra
kneel down
firepower.
behind me.
No, you're gonna need extra guys.
Each one's a
Dude,
baby, I think.
Zombie
like when you taught me
apocalypse.
3-second rushes when we paintballed.
Yeah,
throw me
that's so
some
awesome.
crash course military strategics, and I'll get in there.
That's all it is.
I'll
If you're
protect.
gonna
I'll
get a
protect the
gun,
homeland. That's.
Go
you know.
get training, and that's what it's all about.
But you know, the one thing that gave me hope was, and this is hope from a dark place. Like it wasn't awesome that the Minneapolis Police Department got taken over, but the fucking Minneapolis Police Department got taken over. It's just amazing what people can do in unarmed hordes. I don't want people to take over police departments or to take over Seattle city blocks, but the fact that they could do it gives me hope for people fighting back with or without weapons.
So we're going to sign off here. We've covered a lot of ground today. Wheels spinning. Are we stuck in the mud? You tell us.
Leave
And
comments what you think. If you agree, disagree, let us know.
Stay safe. Honestly, this is what's got me through my life. Is I try to stay quiet, just observe, and just treat everyone with respect. Don't freak out until it's time to freak out.
Yeah. Love your friends on all sides of the aisles.
Yes.
There we go. So signing off with the Dirt, Dave, John, and Brother Danny.
Peace.
The altar, she supposed, and on it was Hector.
Is the throne empty? Is the king dead? The empire unpossessed?
Off with his head.
You got me going in circles.